Hey everyone, today's nighttime lecture is brought to you by Pretend from the Gardens by the Bay in Singapore. In this political anthropology lecture, I talk about some of the tools that politicians use to gain and maintain their power. So, of course, the most obvious tool of politics are elections. Elections are the way that we gauge public opinion about issues and the way that the public can choose their leadership. Elections are held certain times of year, every few years, during a set number of years, after a set period of time. It's different in different countries. In other words, all countries handle elections differently, but elections always serve the same purpose, which is to understand how people feel about their government. Now, I want to talk about a couple of other important tools like militarism, the use of militaries to prop up political goals, charisma as a tool for gaining legitimacy and winning over the hearts and minds of people, and even the cult of personality, which is a propaganda tool that endears its leader to its people. Many politicians use militarism, the belief that a government should maintain a strong military, be able to use it at any time, and honor its military and vets at all times as a political strategy. Militarism often prioritizes displaying that military.
President Trump's dream of a military parade in Washington, D.C. is being put on hold for now. On Twitter, Trump blamed local officials for inflating the estimated cost, $90 million by some accounts. His inspiration for the parade? This. France's annual Bastille Day festivities commemorate a turning point in the French Revolution more than 200 years ago. The Pentagon says it's exploring options for the president, but military parades also come loaded with history. Yes, they can be celebrations, but they're also used by dictators to strike fear into civilians. The US has used parades to celebrate military achievements in the past. In 1946, soon after World War II ended, a victory parade was held on Fifth Avenue in New York. America celebrated again in Washington in 1991 after claiming victory in the First Gulf War. Both parades featured troops and tanks, but they were one-offs, designed to celebrate, not intimidate. In other parts of the world, though, that's not always the case. North Korea regularly parades new ballistic missiles and goose-stepping soldiers around its capital. In theory, it's to celebrate various milestones, but in a police state where applause is essentially mandatory, the effect is also to instill fear, both at home and abroad. China, too, likes to flex its military muscle, with highly synchronized troop formations marching beside columns of tanks. At this event in 2017, President Xi Jinping is in uniform among thousands of troops. It was to celebrate 90 years since the People's Liberation Army was created, but it was also political theater. At the time, Xi was trying to solidify his leadership for another term. Russia's annual Victory Day parade commemorates the defeat of the Nazis, but it also highlights its global ambitions. In 2017, for the first time, air defense missile systems were painted in the white camouflage colors of the Arctic, emphasizing the country's expanding reach into oil-rich regions. Who knows what a US parade will look like if it happens? The White House says it wants to thank America's troops, but a president showcasing his military might without a current war victory to celebrate risks sending the wrong message.
So anytime that a leader or politician is like, I want to throw a big military parade, what they're trying to do is essentially use the military as a prop for exuding their own authority, looking strong, looking capable, but also rallying the citizens up and making them feel really, really proud of the strength and power of the state. So let's talk about charismatic authority. Ultimately, the main tool, the most important tool is charisma. The idea that a politician is charming, likable, represents those that follow him because he exudes their values or exudes the way that they want to view themselves in the world. In many ways, politicians become symbols for the values of their followers themselves, and they do that through that charismatic authority. Also, Many politicians use propaganda in order to further their political goals. If you want to understand propaganda better, please make sure you check out the PDF that Dr. C put together for you that's in the same Canvas module as this lecture. It'll give you all the information you need in terms of definitions about propaganda, as well as explanations of its history and the various propagandistic techniques that are used in the formation of propaganda today. The cult of personality is an absolutely fascinating phenomenon. This is when political leaders develop a cult around them. But cults of personalities have some very interesting characteristics. They're religious like, it often includes disingenuous praise and use of mass media in some pretty shady ways, depends on group psychology and groupthink, and is full of heroic symbolism. All right, guys, thank you so much for listening.